Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. So today we're on episode 4 of Cloak and Dagger, and we are just gonna get right into it. As usual, if you are new to this channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell for notifications so that you know every time we do a new video.
Alright, so episode 4 of Cloak and Dagger this week. So for those of you who probably missed out on last week we kind of got a deep dive into both Tyrone and Tandy's, I guess their secondary ability of them being able to, for Tandy being able to see the hope in other people and Tyrone being able to see the fears of other people. But unlike in the first episode, or the first 2 episodes where they were able to see other people's hopes and fears, episode 3 really focused on them seeing each other's hopes and fears, despite them not even really being in direct contact with one another. So if you really liked episode 3, I think you're really gonna like episode 4. And if you also were confused by episode 3, you're really gonna like episode 4 because it provides a lot of explanation. I think we spent a lot of time in our last video kind of guessing and piecing together what we were able to take away from the video.
Oh, but you had a good guess because it was pretty close.
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff, I mean, yeah, I guess I can pat myself on the back for some of that stuff because I think, but it was still cool to really be able to see these 2 characters like really interact. Like they've had some brief interactions with each other quickly, but this is a lot of episode 4 is them just sitting down and talking. So that's a number of, there's one of the things that we actually are going to talk about in this video is just the amount of time that Tandy and Tyrone spend together in this episode, as well as we finally get to see some different interaction with each character and maybe their parent or a parent that we haven't got to see them interact with a ton in this season so far. So let's first dive into just the chemistry between Tyrone and Tandy. For those of you who don't know, Cloak and Dagger is a comic book that is based off of these 2 characters being in a relationship with one another. Like they are in love. They are, I think they're married, or they're at least they date on and off in the comic books because their powers are so connected. But the show doesn't just jump into that. But we can definitely see in episode 4 the groundwork being laid for that relationship, because now that they've been able to see either the hopes or the fears of the other person, there is that connection. And in episode 4, we see them do a lot of communicating, of them understanding like, hey, there is a connection between the 2 of us, and it is very, very powerful. But you can still tell that they don't really understand the depths of that relationship. But we do get to see them, like I said, a large portion of this episode is them explaining the visions that they were able to see to one another. And so as the audience, you're able to get an inside look. And if you weren't able to piece together what was happening with either character, you're able to really kind of see that. But I think even in the sense of it being a relationship and seeing the groundwork for a relationship, like relationships aren't always smooth sailing. There are ups and downs, there are misunderstandings, there are jumping to conclusions. And you get a lot of that with Tyrone and Tandy. It starts out very calm and well, it starts out a little weird, and then it moves into calm and happy, and they're, explaining each other's visions to each other. They start asking personal questions about, where they live, or, Tandy asks Tyrone at one point if he has a girlfriend, which I thought was kind of interesting, because I was interested in seeing how Tyrone would answer that, like yes or no, if he had a girlfriend or not.
And he didn't answer yes or no.
I think he said no. I thought he said...
He said no, and then he said, well, kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't really defined their relationship.
No, they haven't.
So,
but I think, more so I think from Tyrone's standpoint, maybe it's just because I'm a guy or guys are easier to read, you can definitely tell that he's interested in Tandy. But you can also tell like there's a fear of that type of interaction between the 2 of them in that sense. Another thing, so as their conversation continues to go back and forth, things do start to get a little escalated in their conversation when Tandy makes a comment about having thought about killing herself.
Right.
And I was surprised how upset Tyrone got. Like,
Yeah,
as
me
we were
too.
watching it, I was surprised how upset he got.
I was very surprised.
But his explanation was, like, amazing. You know, there are people who really do get that upset when you bring up suicide, and it's just because they don't like the idea of people taking their own lives. But Tyrone, for him, it was very personal because in his mind, as a black man, he strives to live, period. And so the fact that somebody, for him to be able to see somebody willing to throw that away, who he once again views as privileged, due to white privilege, was amazing to me. I thought it was an amazing scene because it's something that you don't see in TV a lot. And due to the climate of our country and of our world, like, to see that, you know, on the screen, and to see that type of conversation go back and forth, and even Tandy fight back to an extent, pointing out his level of privilege, but even then understanding that it is different, and Tyrone explained to her it is still different. While he may have nice things and have a nice situation, he is still a black man. And the reason that Tandy is able to, even though Tandy is living a life of crime per se, she's privileged to be able to live that because nobody expects that from her. And I thought that was an amazing scene. It obviously leads to a big blow up, and them kind of like, it seems like they're leaving on bad terms.
Right.
But as we find, as the episode develops, or as the episode starts to come to a close, they actually have inspired one another, both from their conversation and also from their visions of one another, to encourage each other. Tyrone being able to encourage Tandy, like, don't run from the thing that you want to know most, which is, what did Roxanne Corp have to do with her father's death? Like, face that head on. And then Tandy being able to encourage Tyrone, like, don't seek this destructive way that could end in that person dying as well as destroying yourself, to get justice. So I really thought that was really, really cool. Because I think at one point in time, it almost seemed like a little too easy how much they were able to just kind of convince one another and have this really cool conversation. But then you're still able to see that they're polar opposites, coming from two different worlds, two different perspectives on the world. And I thought that was really amazing within that scene. Another aspect of the show that we get to dive into, like I said, is we finally get to see these characters interact with characters that have been in the show, but just on a different level. With Tyrone, we get to see Tyrone's interaction with his dad, which is why I thought was so cool.
That's opening scene with them though was
it was
weird.
It was really
wacky.
weird. Like, oh yeah, you mean with Tyrone being able to storm out and...
No, I mean the whole little, well, I don't even know what you would call that.
Oh, when he took him
thing.
Yeah, when he took him to meet... I don't want to offend anybody, so if you're from New Orleans or if you're from Louisiana, if you can kind of explain what that is, because I don't know what that is, that group of people.
Yeah.
Definitely leave that in the comments so that other people can definitely have an understanding of what that exactly was. But I thought that was really cool. I really like how they put so much of New Orleans into this show. But with Tyrone and his dad, we're able to see that, like, Tyrone's able to learn more about his father and actually even learn more about his brother, learning where they come from and learning what his brother was on the path of doing, and learning more about this culture that's in New Orleans. And so it's really cool to see in Tyrone's father being able to impart some wisdom onto him, in a way that he doesn't realize how much Tyrone needs it, which is that I think he says something to him about understanding, like, if you don't know how to control your emotions, if you don't know how to control yourself, you can't ever expect to control the things around you. You can't expect things to go the way you want them to, in essence. And I thought that's really a really powerful scene, a really powerful moment for Tyrone and his dad to show this connection.
Right.
These aren't just kids, or at least Tyrone is not just a kid that's hiding a secret. He is still trying to connect with his parents and learn more about himself, which is something that makes the show a little different versus other shows where you see characters, you know, obviously they're hiding their powers, but
yeah,
you see a lot of shows like this where they hide everything from those that are closest to them, and that turns out to be a little more destructive to those close to them than it is helpful.
Yeah. And
destructive to themselves. So to see Tyrone be able to grow through this conversation with his father was really cool. And more so, it was really cool from a cultural standpoint to see a black father figure being able to bring his son along and teach him something about where he came from. You know, a side of him that clearly Tyrone had never seen. Who knows how his mom feels about it, if she's ashamed of, because they don't tell her later when they see her where they've been. She asks, you know, what they're talking about, and they keep it a secret. So
I mean, it could just be because of the brother.
It could be. It also could be because you remember the way that his dad was received by this group of people. It's like you left this lifestyle, and it can also make you wonder if his mom just isn't fond of that lifestyle, and it was a condition of them moving on in their life for them to get as far away from that lifestyle as possible. So that'll be interesting to see how, if that group of people comes back, if Tyrone ends up learning more.
Yeah.
What is it that they called his brother and his dad used to be a spy boy?
Was it a spy boy or a speed?
I thought it was a spy boy. I thought it was a spy something.
I thought it was speed something.
I don't know. Let us know in the comments. If we're getting that wrong. So that's Tyrone. But on Tandy's end, we're able to see Tandy. It's actually not her mother that Tandy is making a connection with. It's actually
her mother's boyfriend.
Her mother's boyfriend, the lawyer that was helping them build this case against Roxanne, Roxanne Court. And Tandy, as an individual, she's obviously very cautious of new people, and she's seen her mom go through these ups and downs in life of dating men that are just using her or whatever. So she's obviously very overprotective of her mom, and just of, I don't want it. She clearly is also protective of herself, not wanting to go through this crazy life cycle that she's had to go through since her dad passed away.
Right.
But what's cool is that we're able to see this growth in Tandy, because she's, I would say, other than Tyrone, maybe, she's able to see that, well, not just Tyrone, but Tyrone and the guy that was her partner, that she was like committing crimes with. There are actual people in the world who genuinely care about you, and genuinely want happy things for you. And she's able to find this out by using her abilities.
Yeah.
On this, using her ability to see this guy's hopes and dreams. Right. And his hope and dream was for them to be a family, which was, I mean, not just shocking to her, it was shocking to me.
Yeah, it was shocking to me too.
Because I think the last time we had saw this guy, like him and her mom had basically ransacked her drugs and spent all her money. Yeah. And so that was like a flip on its head. So that is obviously a shell shock to Tandy, and it provides an opportunity for her to grow as a character and start to realize that maybe there are good people in this world. And she even tries to convey that to her mom. But obviously,
by then it was too late.
Yeah, by then it was clearly too late, because her mom had already made up her mind that she wanted to break up with this person. Even though this person was somebody that Tandy was starting to grow close to, and who was actually helping her get the answers that she wanted as far as, you know, regarding her father's death. Or at least the corporation's underhandedness that they had done after he died. But unfortunately, Tandy has to deal with some more tragedy, because the one person that she was starting to like, the one person she was starting to trust, she sees this person get murdered by a mystery person, and see that his office is not only is he killed, but his office is torched. Clearly trying to hide and put an end to the investigation that he was doing into Roxanne Court. Exactly. But the cool thing is, it provides a springboard for Tandy to do what she actually wants to do, which we kind of get a sneak peek into for next week's episode. So those are three things that I really took away from this episode. You know, Tyrone and Tandy's conversation, obviously, and the start to their relationship, and how authentic and real that was, both the highs and the low points, the good points and the confrontational parts. But also their growth in their relationships with both Tyrone's dad and Tandy, with honestly just other people. And I think we're actually going to be able to see how she's going to start trusting other people probably going forward in this episode. And the next person probably is going to be Tyrone, is probably trusting him and expecting him to help her, you know, on her quest.
We'll see about that.
So that's my projection anyway.
As always, make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe.
And let us know what you thought of this episode. And we will be back next week with a fresh review of episode 5 of Cloak and Dagger. See you guys later.